This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
All right, I'm going to hit the record button.
Okay, now.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 168 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
I've been the rebel spy, Richard.
Oh, come on!
You should really try it, Richard. It's great.
Oh, so you're one of those Darksiders who celebrated Revenge of the Fifth.
I'm Sarah Woloski, and I have been the rebel spy 7 times.
Maybe there was a bad connection here. What?
The trench scene and that whole flying in and out of it was really a happy accident of the Death Star model not fitting together correctly. How did you find George Lucas? He goes, oh, George Lucas called me. And I said, oh, how many people can say that?
And some are just celebrating all month long, because May is kind of Star Wars month.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen. Up to Neverland.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh,
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers! Are you ready to talk some Star Wars and Disney? If your answer is a resounding yes, then we want to welcome you to Skywalking Through Neverland. This is your fun-filled Star Wars and Disney podcast that leads you on a tour through decades of fandom. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah Hops.
Sarah Hops, ooh, you're breaking some news.
I am.
You're breaking some news because exactly this weekend is the Tinkerbell Half Marathon, and I am going to be dressed as Judy Hops. I'm so excited. I'm going to hop around the parks and around all Disney and around Anaheim and woohoo!
Yeah, I'm going to set this one out.
You are.
I'll do the Star Wars and the superhero half marathons, but when it comes to the other ones, I'm going to just sit back and cheer you on, my sweetie wife.
Exactly. And, you know, this is all part of the Make Hoojibs Canon campaign.
Oh, that's going very strong, too. We've been sending stuff over to Pablo and to Leland and Matt Martin, and Brian Sims. Just made an awesome Photoshop of a Hoojib, but with Matt Martin's face, with Pablo's face,
in
with
the Hoojibs.
Leland's face.
In the Hoojib ears. Oh my gosh, and he tweeted it out. So
that was funny.
Look for @BrianM.Sims on Twitter and his tweet of the Hoojibs. Well, I retweeted it as well at Skywalking Pod. So if you see that, just retweet it, man, because we want to make Hoojibs canon.
And then Brian had a great idea of sending Pablo, Leland, and Matt Hoojib ears. So we can get a picture, but I say we just keep sending them Hoojib gifts, and at some point this will happen. We will make Hoojibs canon.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Amanda Bond is still on. Amanda, if you are still on, do you think you have it in you to make 3 more sets of Hoojib ears? Because I know I ain't giving up my set.
Oh.
So if you can make 3 more pairs, that would be fantastic. All right, another step into what? Making Hoojibs canon.
Woohoo! All right, well, first of all, you know, we kind of started the show already, but we do like to make sure that at each and every show, we give the Skywalkers a giant Wookiee hug to everyone, and we are so appreciative that you listen to the show every week. Also, we Periscope our show, so thank you to our Scope Walkers, and we also Facebook Live the show at the same time. It's so exciting. Some people watch on both, and those guys, well, you're called face huggers. So thank you everyone for watching every week, and we also appreciate when you tweet at us at Skywalking Pod, or post in our Facebook group and share the positivity about our collective adventure through fandom.
This is where you go to find the bright, positive center of fandom. Now, with that, we're going to tell everyone that we are recording from Long Beach, California on May the 9th, 2017.
Wow.
Now, Sarah, if I were to ask you for the time of the day, I saw you getting it set up. What time is it?
It's 3:52. Good afternoon.
Yay! And thank you to Tati, who reminded me on Periscope to get my watch ready. So I had it all ready.
She said, get your act together.
Oh, it worked.
It did.
It
For the first
worked.
time, you had the time all set up and ready to go. So that's a good thing. Tati, you're hired. Every week at this time, you got to remind Sarah to get her act in gear. I still love you, sweetie. Now, do you know what else I love? What's coming up on this week's show? And we're going to check in around the world to see how the Skywalkers celebrated Star Wars Day. Whether it was May the 4th or Revenge of the 5th, some fans are still holding out for May 25th, the actual release date of Star Wars back in 1977.
And some are just celebrating all month long because May is kind of Star Wars month.
Hear, hear. Now, Sarah, you and I, we moderated a DK panel for the Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia with our good friends Tricia Barr and Adam Bray, and we have some audio for that.
Awesome. So we're going to share some of that audio with you on this show, but we also have a YouTube video out on our YouTube channel, which is Skywalking Through Neverland on YouTube, and we have the complete video of that panel, the 30 minutes of the talk that we had, which was super exciting, and I want to thank Bryn McKinnon for taking that video for us.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a game show where you got to run around we had an actual theater, running around the theater, talking to the kids, talking to the adults who all wanted to know all about the making of this visual encyclopedia. Boy, I had so much fun doing that. Now, we also have shout-outs, a Skywalker of the Week, and
Things we want to share.
Things we want to share.
But first, let's reveal the winner of the Rock and Roll Dancing Baby Groot. So last week, we did announce a giveaway of the Dancing Baby Groot that we had got at the press conference for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, that giveaway, it was only a week long. It ended May 8th, Monday at midnight. So this morning, I went to the Rafflecopter widget, in which hopefully you guys all entered, and I hit that little button that said pick a winner, and the winner is Jeff Peterson.
All right, Jeff Peterson.
Yay, congratulations, Jeff. You are at Jalen Jade on Twitter. Yeah, so we are so excited that you won, and thank you so much for entering. Thanks to everyone who entered. And Jeff, please email us, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com to claim your prize. Super exciting.
All right, Jeff, get in touch with us, and since you live around here, we can just hand deliver it to you.
That's true. So thank you all who entered, and please stay tuned to our social media because we will be having more contests and giveaways, all right?
Sounds good. Do you know what else sounds good?
What?
Boy, I love my segues. Things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
As we had mentioned earlier, we celebrated May the 4th Be With You with Tricia Barr and Adam Bray as we moderated DK's Santa Monica stop on their Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia Book Tour. So that was fun. But before we even got there in the afternoon, we started the day with Tricia and BJ Priester at Disneyland.
Whenever Skywalkers come and join us, we got to get our picture on Star Tours. And I was crossing my fingers, everyone. I was crossing my fingers. I knew my fate as we stepped into the ride, into the attraction, that I was probably not going to be picked. And guess what happened? I was not picked once again. I think this has got to be at least 500 times we've been on Star Tours, and I've never ever been picked. And I'm getting pretty sick of this now. So I need help. I need help in a big way. All right. I need to stop talking about this because it's getting on my nerves now. So you know what we did, Sarah?
What?
We put up a Facebook post in our group.
Yes.
Asking for suggestions and tips because
on how to be the rebel spy.
On how to be the rebel spy. It sounds like everyone else has been the rebel spy but me.
Mm-hmm.
So Skywalkers empathized and formed a support group and sent in some audio clips. Let's play those now.
G'day, mate. How you going? This is L&R Ryan of Oz Fans Radio Network. I've never been picked to be the Rebel Spy because I've never been on Star Tours. Maybe one day. May the 4th be with you.
This is Amanda Bakken, and I have never been the Rebel Spy.
Hi, this is Anthony Fox, and I have never been the Rebel Spy. My Imperial affiliations precede me.
Hey, Skywalkers. This is Donald Wicks. And even visiting Disneyland dressed as a Jedi, I was not picked to be the Rebel Spy on Star Tours. Wah, wah.
My name's Eric Okenhout, and I was not the Rebel Spy.
This is Jim Pruitt, Richard's best friend from childhood. And don't feel too bad, Richard. I've never been the Rebel Spy either.
Hey, this is Joey Pittman, and I have yet to become the Rebel Spy, and that is just a bunch of poodoo.
Hey, Skywalking through Neverland. This is Dave Parfit from Adventures by Daddy, and I'm here to say that I am not now, nor have I ever been, the Rebel Spy.
Hello, my name is Rebecca, and I have never been the Rebel Spy.
Hey, Rich. Hey, Sarah. This is Pat Izzo.
This is Jason Izzo.
And we were not the Rebel Spy. What is up with that?
Some of us have been the Rebel Spy.
Yeah, I know. I know this.
Some of us have been the Rebel Spy multiple times.
And some people just had body parts being the Rebel Spy.
That sounds even worse.
I beat out... Your arm beat me out for Rebel Spy. That's not right.
I'm sorry.
All right, well, then some Skywalkers sent in bragging about how they were the Rebel Spy.
Hey, Skywalkers. This is Brian Sims, and I was the Rebel Spy during a Skywalker meetup at Disneyland. Thank you, Richard and Sarah.
This is Carlos Munoz, and I was the Rebel Spy, not once, but twice.
My name's Dave Scale, and not only am I the Rebel Spy on Skywalking Through Neverland, I've been the Rebel Spy on Star Tours, with Richard sitting right next to me.
I'm Sarah Woloski, and I have been the Rebel Spy 7 times.
Is that funny? Is that funny to you? It's not funny to me,
it
okay?
Is now.
It's not funny whatsoever. All right. You know what? You can be Rebel Spy with the ultimate Rebel Spy, Hot Callus.
Callus is the Rebel Spy, Fulcrum.
He's like the ultimate Rebel Spy.
He's Fulcrum. Okay, what I want to know, Matt Clifton, who is at Florida Fulcrum, have you been the Rebel Spy?
I'm just going to assume he has been.
Oh, Brendan says cheers from Australia. Cool.
Hey, Brendan.
Hey, from 501st Bash. Yay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Now, Sarah, let's go ahead and read off a couple of these tips and suggestions from the Skywalkers.
Okay, so Carlos Esteban Munoz Zuniga says, when you file in, quickly take your seat and don't fiddle with tour stuff. I think he meant don't fiddle with your stuff. Look straight at the hidden cameras above. I've been caught twice. Ooh. So he's been the Rebel Spy twice.
So look at the cameras. Okay. All right. Christopher Marino says, become Sarah Woloski. Or become Sarah Woloski's arm.
It's a valid point.
Right. Brian Babcock, he says, do not put on your glasses until instructed to do so. Go in a large group. The story I was told is that they require a clear picture with no glasses. That's good to know. I watched a cast member start the ride once. They were given 5 random pictures to choose from, and if they don't like them, they can push a button to show another 5 pics.
Huh.
I
wonder if those 5 pictures come from a certain place within the ride.
When you are waiting for your star speeder to load up, if you look to your left most times, you'll see the control panel, and you can see the monitor that looks into the star speeder, and you can see them toggle their switcher switch to see who's going to be the Rebel Spy.
Okay.
So I don't ever, as many times as I've looked over their shoulder to try to find a pattern, they just bing, 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 bing. There you go.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty quick. So.
All right, now Brian Sims, he says, well, it starts with not having Sith in your Twitter name. From then on, it's whatever cast member wants to do. So my Twitter name will now be Rebel Spy Rich.
So Mark Boomgarden says, ride it more chances. Also, try to look like a spy. Well, so far, riding it more has not helped Richard.
No, not whatsoever.
Unfortunately. All right, Dennis Keithley says, I asked one of my boys, Rebel Spy twice on our last trip.
Yeah.
He said he did terrible things on behalf of the rebellion. Take that for what it is.
All right, so I got to talk to some cast members.
And maybe get Cassian Andor's jacket.
Okay, all right. Maybe take a cast member aside and say, guess who I just shot in an alley? Would that help? I don't know. I'll try it. All right, Hector Rios Jr. chimes back in. Believe in the Force. I don't know about tips for getting a certain scenario, but I noticed that every time I get the Death Star, my keys were in my left pocket. You can try that.
Okay.
Okay, kind of off subject, but
Yeah.
All right, moving right along.
All right. Garrett Sessions. Be a cute 8-year-old. Worked for my kid.
All right, Dave Scale says, it helps if you dress like a bothan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a valid point.
Yes. JT Lodgson says, either go on the last flight of the night and ask a cast member if you can have your own Star Speeder, or try giving the cast member an open, limited edition action figure.
That would not work on me. Opened, limited,
Yeah, what's up with
action
that?
figure, edition. Just hope you never get me as a cast member. Not that I work there, but you know what? I'm going to get a job just so JT Lodgston can ask me. And I can say, no, you opened up your limited edition action figure. So no, I can be the Rebel Spy. Not at all. I get really worked up about this. All right, now, John Leopold. He says, I hear your odds increase if you go in when Richard Wolosky is there.
That's great.
That's a riot.
Thank you. Michael Smith says, my youngest daughter was the Rebel Spy the first time she ever rode Star Tours. That's really not helping, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Michael. Let's just take him off the list, okay?
Joey Pittman said, I've seen empty seats be the spy. True story. So if you go in there, Richard, by yourself, an empty seat is probably has more of a chance of being the Rebel Spy.
Yeah, people are just walking by Star Tours now. Are you kidding me? This is not helping me whatsoever. All right, now Matt Allen Ruiz says, I know early on when it opened, the trick was to sit in the second row in the first seat, all the way to the right as you face the screen. Sit upright and look forward during pre-flight so they can get a clear shot. Not putting on glasses until told to do so. All right, that seems to be a general consensus.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that seat will still do the trick or only if it happened in the early days, but I know that used to be the default spy as long as they could get a clear shot.
Interesting.
So getting a clear shot.
Yeah, if you think about it, when you go in, you're like doing the bags. So I bet those 5 pictures that pop up, you probably have a couple of them where it's, someone's moving, something like that.
All right. Now, Joey Pittman.
Hold on. Geek Tati is saying, you look like Ahsoka. Don't wear a bright orange shirt.
All right. I don't have any orange shirts. I only have orange shirts.
Oh, I thought you had orange shirts.
I don't even know what. That's not even a color. Orange. It's orange. I've got plenty of orange shirts. Orange. It's a color.
I'm gonna eat an orange right now and mull over this.
I don't even know what that is. What is an orange? I don't know.
You can't even say it.
East Coast Skywalkers, help me out here. It's orange, not orange. Yeah.
It's orange,
right.
and it's a wolf.
Someone's been drinking. Hashtag Sarah drinks. Oh! All right. Joey Pittman says, who knows? I give up. I've sat next to a spy a few times, my niece and my friend. I even used to think a Star Wars shirt would help, but that was once upon a time before Disney bought Lucasfilm, and you'd only see 3 or 4 other Star Wars shirts all day long. A little different now, LOL. Now I would say just about everyone has got a Star Wars shirt on.
Well, especially when we went on May the 4th. Oh my gosh. Everyone had Star Wars shirts and Star Wars things. It was fun.
All right. We're almost to the end here.
Okay.
Kevin Reitzel says, don't go with Sarah Wolosky.
And Ryan Stampley says, swap spots with Sarah at the last moment before seatbelts.
Oh, that's a good one, too. All right. Patty Hammond says, I suggest dressing like a rebel.
Yep. And Jim Gallant says, you can't wear a t-shirt that says, pick me on it. Why not?
That's been my problem. All right. Joe Mignano says, tell the park gate attendant it's your birthday. Then wear one of those festive birthday buttons they give you. Get told happy birthday by every cast member that you come across.
It's true.
Make sure that the Star Tours cast members see it. It increases odds dramatically. But don't ask by how much. I will never tell you the odds.
Well played. Well played, Joe.
Yeah, I like the idea of a birthday button.
Mm-hmm.
That would seem to do the trick. However, I just want to get picked because because I want to be that random person. I don't want someone to tell them to pick me. I don't want to be picked because it's my birthday. I just want to be that I want to be a random person, okay? There you go.
Okay. All right. Daniel Hyatt says, cosplay as a rebel, member of Phoenix Squadron, dye your hair purple/blue/orange.
Okay. I think I can rock that look.
Yep.
All right. Luella says, ride at the end of the day when there are very few people riding it. It will increase your chances. Nope. No, it will not. I've tried it before. Won't work.
Nope.
All right. Ryan Stampley has got one, but I do this every single time I ride Star Tours. Wear Star Wars underoos.
Aww.
Every time. That still hasn't helped. Thank you, Ryan.
I'm sorry. All right. Finally, Patrick Pine says, think of it this way. When you get your bright blue victory shirt, each thread will represent a time you tried to be the rebel spy. You tried harder for that shirt than most.
All right, so once again, I took down all your suggestions. Thank you very much. They're going to go in my personal diary, and I will clench that as I'm walking towards Star Tours, saying a repeated prayer of, the Force is with me, I'm one with the Force. The Force is with me, I'm one with the Force. Let's see what happens. I'll report back next week.
Okay.
Or the next time we go to Disneyland. All right, Sarah. Let's now play some audio highlights from the panel we just hosted for DK Publishing's Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia Book Tour held on May the 4th with Tricia Barr, Adam Bray, and a bunch of kids who asked some really great questions.
Do you guys want to talk some Star Wars today? Yeah! All right. By a show of hands, who here saw Star Wars back in 1977? All right, everyone. First, we want to start off by saying, Happy May the 4th be with you. And what will tomorrow be, everybody?
Revenge of the 5th.
Cinco de Mayo. No. Revenge of the 5th. Okay? His answer of Cinco de Mayo also works as well. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, guys. My name is Richard Woloski. I co-host the Star Wars Disney podcast, Skywalking Through Neverland. But now, everyone, I want to introduce you to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who puts the Force into my life.
Aww. Hello, everyone. Welcome, you guys. We are here for DK Publishing's book, Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia. Who already has that book? Okay, we are so excited to announce one of the authors of Star Wars, the Visual Encyclopedia. She is my co-host at Fangirls Going Rogue, a Star Wars podcast, and her name is Tricia Barr.
Let's hear from Miss Tricia Barr! All right, guys. She's not the only author that we have over here. We have another one, Sarah.
We do, and his name is Adam Bray.
Let's give it up for Mr. Adam Bray! All right, so if you're confused, that one's Tricia, that one's Adam. All right.
So, let's see. Let's start with you, Adam. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got writing for Star Wars and which Star Wars books have you written?
Sure. Well, I began my author career as a travel writer. I was living overseas writing guidebooks for Cambodia, New Zealand, Laos, and Thailand, and lots of different countries in Southeast Asia. Did that for about 8 years, and then I came back to the U.S. just as Disney bought Lucasfilm and announced that they were going to start making more movies. So I asked one of my publishers, DK, if they needed any Star Wars books written. And it just so happened that they did need a book about the monsters of the movies. So I started with that, called What Makes a Monster. And they liked that, so they kept asking me to write more and more and more and more. So I've done 8 or 9 books with DK, including Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, Lego Chronicles of the Force.
Are you guys big Lego fans? Big Lego Star Wars fans? All right, don't bury the lead. Talk about that one.
Yeah. Lego Chronicles of the Force and Lego Star Wars Into Battle.
Wow.
So they keep me really, really busy.
All right, and now Tricia, Can you tell everyone a little bit about how you got into writing for Star Wars books?
Ultimate Star Wars was my first big DK book with Adam, and that's like the biggest book, right? Because it was redefining canon and where Star Wars was starting off. And so Ultimate Star Wars and this Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia are the books that are on the desks of people who are writing Star Wars stories, writing comics and making movies and making television shows. And they all have it, so it kind of freaks you out sometimes when someone will be like, "Hey, I've got your book on the desk and I love it." And I'm like, "Oh, so not just for kids, also for the adult kids still getting to tell stories."
Let's talk about this book now, the Visual Encyclopedia. Now, Adam, which sections did you write, and what new Star Wars information did you learn by writing this?
Yeah, I wrote a lot of sections, a lot of different sections. The thing about this book is it mixes the movies and the two animated series, Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, all together. So in most books I might tell my editors, I want all the stuff about the Rebels, and be a real Rebels hog, because that's the stuff I love. But in this
one... I'm over there smiling right now.
Yeah. But this one, it's all kind of mixed up together, so I can't just pick a single movie or a TV show. I've got to pick certain topics. So I did do a lot of engine parts and tools and pieces of equipment and things like that. But I also did a lot of plants and animals, creatures, ecosystems and environments. I actually have a degree in biology and used to work with chimpanzees and work at zoos. And DK knows that, so they readily give me all the stuff for living things. And really, the plant section was one of my favorite parts of the book because it hadn't really ever been written about in Star Wars before. So I actually got to name a lot of the plants, many of which appear in the Clone Wars.
Did you name some plants after some known people or things? Podcasters?
I didn't name any after podcasters.
Next question.
I wrote the musical instruments section, which was kind of fun because you had to sort of make things up and look at random obscure instruments in our world and then just make them work. But it's one of the prettiest pages. It was really exciting to do.
All right, you know what? We have a question right over here from my new friend Charles. Charles, what section is really jumping out at you?
Okay. Which page is the language section on? Because me and my friend Leo are getting some ideas.
You could take that language section and translate what things say in the movies if you wanted to know what they were.
What if you were an Ewok? What would you say?
Ichawapa.
Or you could say this.
I was going to ask, did you always know that you wanted to be writers? And what advice would you give children who are interested in writing or illustrating?
One of the first things that I wrote myself for fun was in grade school. I retold the Ewok adventure movies that came out in the 80s in my own way, the way I would have wanted them to happen. And I drew my own illustrations and made a cover and typed it all up on my mother's ancient typewriter and made a nice little book out of it. So I always enjoyed writing as a hobby, and even when I went to college, it was funny. I had to take core classes in English composition, and I took it with all the English majors, and it was the most difficult class, one of the most difficult professors, and I was the only one that passed the class. All the other English majors, they actually had to redo their term papers and redo the class. So I knew, something was going on, that this would be a direction I would want to go later. But for me, as I mentioned, my biology degree came back to help me because it made me a good candidate to write a book about creatures for Star Wars. And that's something I continue to do in a lot of the new books that are coming along. So, in other words, to simplify for the lesson I've learned is you don't always have to go straight through the front door. There are a lot of back doors. Always look for the things that everybody else isn't doing that might be a possibility. Because if you're always going through the front door, applying directly for the thing that everybody wants to do, there's so much competition and so many limited jobs. But for us, if you want to work in Star Wars, consider working for a publisher or a toy maker like Hasbro or Lego, or a video game publisher like Electronic Arts, like our co-author Cole does. You don't necessarily have to work directly for Lucasfilm or Disney, because those jobs are harder to get. So look for the back doors, look for the things that other people aren't trying.
So now, say these kids leave here and they're reading the book and say, I want to be a writer now. What should be the first step? What should they read? What should they do?
Well, your brain is a muscle, and so you can't get around. If you were on swim team, you would have to swim a lot to be able to be competitive. So your brain is a muscle, so you have to teach your brain to be able to go the distance and to be able to stay awake and to look things up and keep working for 5, 6, 7 hours. So that's definitely something that you need to do. Again, my route was not direct either. I'm a civil engineer by day, and by night I do this. So it's never what you think is the obvious path.
Definitely.
All right, you know what? Got another question right over here from my new buddy Hayden. Hayden, what question do you have?
Have you ever met Dave Filoni?
Yeah, actually, Dave Filoni is a really friendly guy. George Lucas is too, but Dave Filoni is he's much more accessible. So when I've gone to conventions, at some point he usually comes out on the floor where all the fans are. So I've met him several times, and he's as nice as he seems in the videos. He's a lot of fun.
You know what? I want to come back over here to Hayden. Hayden, how did you know who Dave Filoni was?
I'm a big fan of Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars. Woohoo!
All right. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
And I think we had a cool
question right over here
Okay.
from little Serena. Hey, Serena. Do you have a question or a statement or a credit card number?
Have you met My Little Pony?
Have you met My Little Pony?
No. Well, I did today, but other than that, no.
Adam? No.
I just want to know how long it takes to make this book.
So we sat down to meet with DK in London during Celebration London last summer. They had already outlined it, had an idea, they had a basic concept that was ready to go. They actually had a cover, which is a rare thing. We saw that cover, it was done. And then we started writing in earnest. Between the three of us, we were getting a spread that would have pictures and nothing. So we just knew there would be like little, no words that weren't really words. And that's how we had to start writing and filling it in. So it was about 3 to 4 months for each of us. We're not really working together. We're working on the part we're doing, and we really need to give credit to the young lady Natalie, who looked up all 2,500 images, and she probably pulled up 10,000 or 12,000 images to choose from. And then Ruth Amos, who was our editor, who sort of handles us very gently, prods us in the right direction, makes sure we're staying on time, might send a spread and say, "Ooh, we're going to submit this bit to Lucasfilms. Can you get it along quickly?" So, it felt like writing a term paper for 4 months.
So, what I want to ask is a few questions, actually. Are there any Rogue One or Last Jedi elements in this?
Rogue One, yes. They were making it, and there was some stuff that we knew that would be in there that we had seen from trailers and whatnot, like weaponry or stuff like that. And then they were also working on the Rogue One Visual Encyclopedia with Pablo Hidalgo from Lucasfilm, so they had some knowledge in-house to put things in. There's nothing from The Last Jedi in this, so, I know.
All right, and now we have a last question from Michelle.
So I'm wondering, I've lived with 3 people who love Star Wars. What's the best way to get up to speed with all of this when you don't even know a thing about it?
Yeah, well, I think this book's a great start, as well as Ultimate Star Wars, or other Star Wars Encyclopedia. And Star Wars, Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, those 3 books. And the Absolutely Everything You Need to Know, which is a mouthful. It's kind of a trivia guide and a fact book, so it's got all the weird, strange, wonderful, little-known stuff, but it also covers the basic foundations. And it's mostly about the characters and groups of characters, but there's also sections about the ships and the locations as well.
Great. So. But I just lied. I do have one more question from right over here, from Chris. Chris Alexander, Star Wars origami author.
Woo! Sorry. Thank you. So, doing the research for this book, did you come across anything where in this source it's called something and here it's called something else, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that's an easy out. You send it to your editor with an annotation, and it says it's different in this book and this book, and you say, I think you should ask Leland Chi about this, and that's what you do with those. So if there's anything, it gets reviewed by the story group. So
example?
Things that, oh my gosh, I can't remember, but I always have notes.
For me, there were a bunch of senators and senators' assistants, and a few background characters here and there throughout the 6 movies that would have conflicting names. So yeah, I'd tell them to go. Well, often I would try to figure it out as best I could. So I would go through and search DK's books. And there's, I forget what it's called, but there's a book that Steve Sansweet and I think maybe Pablo might have helped that has a lot of images from the prequels from Lucasfilm's database. It's long out of print, but it's a huge, beautiful book. Check that. Check Wikipedia, but Wikipedia has a lot of duplicate, contradictory entries if you do your Google searches right. So yeah, at worst, send it back to the story group. Occasionally, though, I'd find something. There was an object. I think it was a Sith chalice in Palpatine's office. And basically, in the old expanded universe, or in DK's old visual guides, it performed the same function as Thrawn's Ysalamari, which is to create a bubble where the Force can't operate. But under the new it's under the, I guess,
canon?
Yeah, the new canon, but under the clarification of Dave Filoni about George's view of the Force, those things can't really exist. You can't have Ysalamari or objects that are pushing the Force away. So I would have to change what that object does, what its purpose is, because it's no longer valid. And there are things here and there that have to be fixed like that to agree with the new Star Wars standards.
Do you guys know what hoojibs are? Yeah. Do you guys like white bunny rabbits? Little cute white bunny rabbits? We're very close to seeing them in Star Wars, but you gotta hashtag this. Hashtag make hoojibs canon. Okay?
Go on Twitter right now.
Little cute white Star Wars white bunnies that we saw in the Marvel comics of the 70s and 80s, mainly the 80s. So we're trying to get them into the new canon. The cutest little white bunnies. We gotta do it, guys. Serena, get out your phone. Hashtag make hoojibs canon. Okay?
As everyone knows, today is May 4th, also known as Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And, of course, that means tomorrow is May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but also May 5th happens to be International Tuba Day. Did anyone know that? It really is. So now Star Wars, Cinco de Mayo, International Tuba Day. That's a lot of stuff crammed into 48 hours. So we thought, why not take it a step further and try to combine them all into one super performance? So, ladies and gentlemen, here now to perform a special all-tuba/salsa medley of Star Wars songs, please welcome the Rutgers University Tuba Section featuring The Roots!
Happy Cinco de Mayo! marching band. We'll be right back with tonight's show.
All right, with that, let's now talk to Martin Keeler about his May the 4th holiday. We asked our Facebook group what they did on May the 4th, and comments came in from around the world. Skywalkers watched Star Wars movie marathons, made store runs for more merchandise, but there was one man who took the party to a whole new level.
Let's check in with the man who rocked the house at Star Wars Celebration Europe with #Cantina, all the way from merry old England, where the May the 4th pun originated. Here is Martin Keeler. Hey, Martin.
Hey, how are you?
We are doing just great now, recovering from our May the 4th holiday. And first, we want to welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. You're always such a positive, fun energy.
Thank you. No, I love the fact that you'll have me back.
Oh,
always.
Of course.
Now, I know you were just a kid back in 1979, but do you recall when the London Evening News used that May the 4th pun to congratulate Margaret Thatcher, who had just become Britain's first woman prime minister?
Yeah, because, even though I was only, I think, about 7 years old, every morning I would read the newspapers to see if there was any Star Wars references in there. No, in the summary, I didn't really realise that was such a big thing when it happened. I think it was slightly overshadowed by Margaret Thatcher, full stop, at the time.
Full stop, indeed.
Oh, okay, well, we'll give you that one, I guess.
You know what? Talking to you, Martin, I feel myself wanting to talk in an English accent with you.
and my accent gets stronger all the while I talk to you. So I'll start saying pip pip in a minute and things like that.
I love it. Okay.
If you can, break into the Dick Van Dyke English accent.
Hello, Richard and Sarah. There you go.
Oh, I love it. Yay.
You know what? But it was still more believable than Dick Van Dyke's accent.
Yeah, definitely.
As a kid, I didn't know, but that's okay.
All right. But what I do know is that we just celebrated a major holiday, May the 4th. But first, let me ask you, do you consider May the 4th being a Star Wars holiday, or May 25th, the actual release date, as the Star Wars Day? I'm still on the fence about Star Wars Day being on May 25th, the actual release date. But I know it's more of a hashtag to say May the 4th. Mm-hmm. May the 4th be with you.
It's too good a pun to miss.
I know.
Honestly, May is Star Wars month, especially to us fans. Yep. But yeah.
But now, let's talk about your May the 4th holiday way over there across the world.
Well, actually, on May the 4th, which was a Thursday, I was travelling because the party in Paris actually was 2 nights, and it was the 5th and the 6th. So I think they tried to get it close to the 4th, but they wanted it a weekend.
Oh, wow. So you're one of those Darksiders who celebrated Revenge of the 5th.
It certainly was, yep.
All right, so you went to Disneyland Paris. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously over here, the closest we've got is Disneyland Paris. And fortunately for me, it's literally a train ride away. Mm-hmm. So it's the one I can get closest to. And they were holding the first real evening event that they've done there. So it was a bit of an experiment. And it was the Soiree de Star Wars. The 5th and the 6th of the May. And a party that took place in, there's 2 parks, which I probably should explain because that kind of makes important news for later on. We've got a Studios, which isn't quite the same as Hollywood Studios, but it is a self-contained park. And we've got a Magic Kingdom. And the party took place in the Studios, but your ticket did still get you into the Magic Kingdom. And I'll explain why later.
Oh,
wow.
Bonus.
So, I went across... I was lucky enough to have some friends going, so I'd been invited to hang out the weekend with them. And, I went along to see what they were up to for their first Star Wars-themed event.
Wow,
Yeah.
This is so exciting because having been to last tour to Endor and Galactic Nights, we know how much fun these Star Wars nights can be in the Disneyland parks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really need to stress, we've not done anything like this in Disneyland Paris before. Mm-hmm. So there was some real differences to the American ones and some very continental versions of things going on. But that in itself was quite exciting because you could see where they were testing things rather than it being okay, this is what we do, bang.
What's the price of this? Was this like an extra ticket on top of your park ticket? How did that work?
So, it was about $60 it would have been to go.
Oh.
$60?
And was this 2 nights?
For each night.
Okay, for each. Okay, but
Oh
wow,
my God.
I know. They're asking for Mission Breakout $150 each for
Absolutely.
for the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, and just to make you feel even worse, if you stayed in a Disney hotel, you actually got the tickets for about $20.
What?
All right, we need to save money by flying to Paris next time and doing their Star Wars nights.
Oh my
Absolutely.
I'm not sure the math works out there.
No, I think it's sound.
Now, yeah, exactly. All right, now tell us about your night, the highlights, and what you saw.
Okay, so there was 2 big things that were going on that weekend. It was the party, and also we had new Star Wars rides opening in Disneyland Paris. So I don't know for any of you who know about the history of Disneyland Paris, but it's had quite a choppy time. There's been lots of decisions of things that have been made that have then been reversed, and it sometimes comes across as a bit confused.
Right.
The main one being our version of Tomorrowland, which is called Discoveryland. And when it first opened, it was supposed to be sort of Jules Verne's vision of the future. So rather than falling into the trap that Tomorrowland quite easily can look like it's not Tomorrowland anymore, because the future catches up with it, the idea was you just had this sort of steampunk version of the future with the big rides in, and it kind of made it timeless, which I thought was a really great idea.
Yeah.
Over time, though, we've had our rides added like Buzz Lightyear, Star Tours, and you kind of lose the theming.
Right.
So they've kind of really gone for it now and said, right, we're going to forget the theming. And we're just going to put things in there that people want.
Scrap all the years of engineering. Let's just give them what they want.
Absolutely. There's no finesse at all. But that means this year we got Star Tours 2. So I think Paris was the last to have the original Star Tours in it.
Okay.
So Star Tours 2 has been running this year. I think it opened in January. But the big headline ride is Hyperspace Mountain.
Right on.
Woohoo!
Now, and this is the bit to make everyone come to Disneyland Paris. Our version of Space Mountain is not the same as the ones in America. Our version of Space Mountain is actually closer to Rock and Roller Coaster.
Oh, so it does do loop-de-loops, right?
Oh, it does the loops. The actual concept when it was started off as Jules Verne's vision of the future was you get fired out of a cannon. Genuinely, if you look up pictures on the internet of Space Mountain Disneyland Paris, it's like a big dome, and on the side of it is a cannon. And the roller coaster gets launched up it, so it's like Rock and Roller Coaster, but imagine at an angle going up the side of the building.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And that's how it starts. But they've refurbished it and made it into Hyperspace Mountain.
Nice.
And it is absolutely incredible. But yeah, Hyperspace Mountain, let me just quickly explain what they've actually done in there.
Yeah, please.
So you get in a standard roller coaster car, so you're sitting 2 aside each other, and you get loaded into the cannon to the music of Star Wars, the opening score. And I think the theme that's running through, although it's difficult to tell because it's in French and also it's a bit liberal with the story, is that you're actually rebels who are being sent to win a battle.
Okay.
So you get fired into hyperspace in this one. And the way they've done that is really clever. So you get the initial shooting up the side of the building, but at the top, which you can't see until you get there, is the hyperspace effect. And then you go into a tunnel, which is like you're going through hyperspace. And you come out the other end straight in front of a Star Destroyer.
Wow.
So you genuinely feel like you're going into battle.
Yeah, that's a lot like ours that we have at Disneyland.
Only we don't get shot up
No.
the side. We just kind of like go up like you're going up a normal roller coaster.
Yeah, that's like about
So you're like going
10
through
feet tall.
hyperspace at about 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, this one you're not. I think it's something like 3 Gs.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness. Oh
Okay.
my.
The only thing that's missing is you don't hear someone say "punch it, Chewie" as you go because you're supposed to be in a rebel ship.
Well, then that's your job every time you go.
Absolutely. And then you do, not dissimilar to the hyperspace mountains in America, you do the roller coaster with TIE fighters and X-Wings flying around you projected. But the projections I'm guessing they're digital because they are crystal clear.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I can't stress how it feels like you are genuinely in a battle. And I think the corkscrewing makes a real difference. There's one bit that kind of you can almost feel everyone gasping anyway. But you see a TIE fighter swoop in, and they've actually used physical laser effects, but not physical in the sense of it's a laser beam. It's like a neon light that comes towards you.
Right.
Nice.
And you corkscrew round it, so the effect looks like you've made an evasive mover to miss it.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Our hyperspace mountain is all based on the original trilogy, so I'm guessing yours over there is too, not the First Order.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's original trilogy ships that you have.
Wow.
And then as you get near the end, you manage to destroy the Star Destroyer. With your colleagues, you see the X-Wings flying alongside you and they blow it up. You go quickly back into hyperspace again, and then that's the end of the ride.
Wow.
Cool.
That is awesome.
So it sounds pretty similar to our hyperspace mountain, however, taken up several notches by the whole shooting out of the cannon and
Absolutely.
corkscrewing.
Jeez.
Yeah.
However fast that is.
I was with a couple of American guys for that ride who have been on both of the hyperspace mountains in the US. And they said, hands down, it beats it.
Another reason to go next year.
Absolutely.
All right, now, Star Tours, The Adventure Continues, just opened up over there. I'm wondering why it took them 6 years after us to open it, but was this your first time going on Star Tours, The Adventures Continue?
Well, actually, I didn't get to go on it this time. I've been on it in America a few times.
Okay, so you have gone on it.
I've been on it. I've been the Rebel Spy, Richard.
Oh, come on!
Actually, it gets even worse, Richard. I was the Rebel Spy at the Galactic Nights at Hollywood Studios.
Oh, you were the Rebel Spy at Galactic Nights,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
High five over the interwebs. Rebel Spies
I'm
Galactic
going
Nights.
home.
You should really try it, Richard. It's great.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe someday I will, okay? I've never really thought about it until now. And I'm sure you not even going on Star Tours at Star Wars Soiree, you were still picked as Rebel Spy, weren't you?
They just said, look, you're clearly the Rebel Spy. Don't bother going on.
Just buy the pin and the t-shirt.
Absolutely.
That's the next phase. They'll just be stopping people outside the ride and giving them the Rebel Spy status.
Well, that is the next phase in Star Wars land, whatever you do in the ride.
Except
there.
for me.
I know.
You're good. There's Rich. All right, who's behind Rich? Let's have him be the Rebel Spy or her. All right, well, back to happy thoughts.
So the line for it in France, because it was a Star Wars theme event.
Yes.
It was 60 minutes plus lining up.
Oh.
Come, 60 minutes.
So
on our
having
heads.
been spoiled before, I decided to skip it this time.
That makes sense. If you've been on it already, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. We understand that. Go on Crush's coaster.
Now I'll tell you about that later.
Oh,
And
okay.
You'll be the Crush Spy. Now, what shows did they have for this night?
So I'm still in the Magic Kingdom at the moment. Okay. So that's where this thing's based. And this is why I say it's important. You've got like 2 passes. And actually, to go on the Hyperspace Mountain, you had to pay an extra €15. So that's about $20, I think. And you got an exclusive pin because you went on it before it was opened officially.
Oh.
So the only other thing they had in Discoveryland in the Magic Kingdom that was Star Wars based that night was the Path of the Jedi film.
Yes.
And that was really weird.
Weird?
It felt, and not wishing to sound negative, but it felt like we had this, because we used to have Captain EO there. So you had this empty theatre. And it kind of really felt like they said, let's put something in for the Star Wars night. and they showed the the film that was in Launch Bay about the making of Star Wars. We have the directors being interviewed and things like that.
Right.
Yes.
Well, they showed that as the pre-show on little TVs, which I personally find more interesting than Path of the Jedi, which is kind of just a montage of Jedis from the film.
Yeah, but it is 4D, so you get to feel the heat of Tatooine and the cold of Hoth and the smoke of the carbon freezing chamber.
You get to feel the theatre vibrate a bit at various times. So
I guess it wasn't as 4D there.
That's right. I kind of get the feeling they put it in last minute. But the most interesting, the whole thing was in French.
Oh, no!
and you kind of get used to that after a while, but it's really funny if you're not used to seeing it. Particularly Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Alec Guinness French guy. I've no idea how they chose him. It's incredible. So that was a bit weird, and they didn't really advertise that was on as well. So I went in there twice, just because I had so much time and I was there for 2 nights. And both times, considering it was an exclusive for the event, I would say the cinema was about a third full. So that's what you had in Discoveryland. Magic Kingdom stayed open until about 10:30, so you could stay there and do everything you normally did. But the real action was over in Disney Studios, where it was more of the private party.
Okay.
So at 7:30, you had to have the wristband and the special ticket to get in. Everyone else was not thrown out, but there was nothing to do, so you might as well go.
You were booted out if you don't have that wristband.
Absolutely. I saw quite a few people, I think it's fair to say, confused by the fact that every ride they tried to get on, they were bounced.
Right.
But they did quite a nice thing where you actually had a slightly different entrance to the park. So normally you go in, they've got like a big hangar, studio hangar, and you go through there and you come out the other side and there's the park. But what they actually did this time was like a red carpet to the side of it, which had a really nice Star Wars soiree party, and it felt like a red carpet event, and it had red lightsabers lighting the way as you went through.
Wow.
And then when you
overhead, kind of
to the side of you, you.
Okay, nice.
And then when you emerged at the other side, you were met by a legion of stormtroopers, who you basically had to walk past nervously. They literally didn't do anything other than guard the entrance. But it was a really nice way of getting people into the park and saying you're into a Star Wars evening now.
Original trilogy or First Order?
A bit of everything.
Oh, wow.
Again, you'll notice through this, it's not necessarily structured. So you get a bit of everything in there.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling. Okay.
Now, do you have pictures somewhere so people can follow along?
Yeah, I certainly do. I'll send them across to you. I'll send you what I've got.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're listening now, if you head to Skywalking Through Neverland and this show notes, we'll have some pictures there for you.
So you got into the main park, and then I'll read through what there was to do and tell you about.
Okay.
So you had the march of the First Order, which I think you guys have seen plenty of times in Orlando.
Yeah, with Phasma leading the troops.
Yeah.
That's the one. We had that twice in the evening. And the march route they took was quite long. So it was quite funny because the music just seemed to go on forever. And you was wondering, where are they? And then they would appear eventually. And then they'd walk all the way back after doing a little stage show. So for the music, though, you had about 20 minutes of that First Order march song, which was interesting after 2 nights and hearing it all that time. Then you also had a similar show which took place in the main courtyard, so where they finished up the march, which was all the other Star Wars characters. So C-3PO and R2-D2 would come out. You'd have various characters, but it was kind of it was like a little parade, but on stage.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
They also had a Chewbacca and Darth Vader meet and greet, which they haven't done before. And that was really popular.
Did Chewbacca speak in French?
He did. He would say, "Lurr." That's it. And again, when you hear all the stuff dubbed in French, it's really funny because Chewbacca was literally the only thing that wasn't different. So it's quite weird.
So I'm not sure I could handle Darth Vader in French.
I know. Is Darth Vader in French?
J'attendais votre venue. Excusez-moi de ne pas voir votre innocence.
Yeah, Darth Vader in French.
Well, when we went to Disneyland Paris, a lot of the characters would do English and French.
Yeah.
So these were like exclusive French?
Yeah, most of it was in French. There was the presenters. You have that great thing, and anyone who's been there before, you soon get used to it. But it's really quite funny the way they do it in English and French at the same time, because they tend to do it, don't they? They either have literally saying "Hello, everyone, welcome to the Star Wars Soiree," and then you have the same in French, or normally it's French first. I personally love it when they write it into the script. And you'll hear I've seen plenty of shows where Mickey will say something in French. Mm-hmm. And then one of the people stood next to him will say, "That's right, Mickey. This is exactly what we're about to do."
It's like 3PO talking to R2, where he has to kind of say what R2 said.
Back to what R2 just said.
I'm pretty sure, though, that the C-3PO is Anthony Daniels speaking in French.
Oh, I could see that.
I think that's the one that they have got the original voice for.
Okay.
Yeah, seeing how protective he is.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd want to take that over.
Yeah.
Martin, do you speak French yourself?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. I mean, I know a lot of English people do learn French as well. Like you guys know like 4 languages.
I constantly get embarrassed that I can't speak the language, but I probably ought to say it now. Everyone was so incredibly friendly that it really didn't matter. I spent most of the weekend with French people, and language thing was not an issue.
All right. So what else was there to do?
So we had another Jedi training academy. So there is a permanent one in the Magic Kingdom, but they set one up in one of the theatres that's in the studios. That's your standard Jedi academy, but that was running separately there for kids to get involved. You had then a third different march. They did like their marches and parades that night, which was effectively the original trilogy characters Stormtroopers marching.
Okay. Wait, so was this a dark side march again, or?
Yes. So I think they had the 501st there, basically.
Ah.
So I think, and I may get this wrong, you kind of had the official Disney First Order parade, the official Disney Star Wars characters parade, and then the 501st doing the Stormtroopers and the Scout Troopers, etc., as a third one.
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
Over there, is it the 501st or the 501?
It is. I've got a photo that you'll see. It is the 501st.
The fact that I could pull up the French translation for one just astounds me.
I'm very impressed.
I should just quit while I'm ahead.
Or the 501. 501.
Wrong country.
I know. I only know it in German.
So that was, I think that was it for the parades. In regards to the actual shows, now the big headline show was you had projected on the Tower of Terror, because we got the Tower of Terror there, a bit like the California Adventure. It's exactly the same ride as the California Adventure, but they actually did a nighttime projection show, not unlike the one in Disney Hollywood Studios in Orlando that they do on the theater. They did one of those as the big finish to the evening. And it's absolutely amazing. And the thing that works slightly better, dare I say, is the Tower of Terror's at a slight angle. Mm-hmm. So the projections that are on there are actually on 2 sides of the building. So when they're showing the scenes from Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting, you've kind of got the whole Mustafa thing on the side of the building, but various rooms in the Tower of Terror, you'd see Obi-Wan and Anakin lightsaber fighting just across, and then they'd appear on the side, and then it was real details that you don't normally get. So you've got the big sort of headline, and you'd see Obi-Wan speaking in French about how Anakin was the chosen one, but all this stuff was seen to be going on in the background, and it was just I've really not seen anything like it before. It was fantastic.
Wow! Now, did it end with a big finale with a big lightsaber?
Yeah, you get the lightsaber light go up at the end as well, but that just sort of poked out the corner of the Tower of Terror on that one, rather than be right in the middle.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that was the highlight of our whole Orlando trip, was seeing that fireworks show. What was it called?
Galaxy.
Yeah.
Whereas over there, it's called Galactic Celebration.
Yeah, I believe it's called Le Celebration Galactique. There you go.
Yeah, that was definitely the highlight. It was just a fantastic marvel of production and lighting design, and music being in sync with the fireworks. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
I think they started planning that when they started planning The Empire Strikes Back in 1978.
Yeah. And the other thing that was, there was really good. So for everything that I've said, it felt a little bit like they were having a first attempt at it, and they were having a first attempt at it. So you could see there was lots of, let's just do this and see how it goes. That particular show, the detail was phenomenal. And as soon as it got dark, if you looked really carefully, they were actually projecting on the Tower of Terror, the Tower of Terror. So the whole evening, that building was lit up. And it was only when the show started that you basically had the Tower of Terror melt away and turn into a starfield.
Oh, neat.
Oh, very nice.
It was really well thought out.
Now, was the energy on this night more palpable because it was May the 4th and Revenge of the 5th?
It certainly was. It was, like I say, because people hadn't done it before. There was certainly an energy. There was an area of intrigue. So people were a little bit, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what this is all about. And as soon as they started seeing some of the parades, and the other thing I should say, like Galactic Nights in Hollywood Studios, the rides lines were incredibly short.
Oh, good.
Alcohol is served as well. That's quite standard in Disneyland Paris anyway. But there was plenty of beer drunk, which as the evening went on, you could tell people were having a few beers and enjoying the night a bit more. But Crush's turtle spinner that you've been on.
Yeah, Crush's coaster.
That was 10 minutes wait.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, I love that thing. So, Martin, was there any merchandise, like special merchandise for this evening?
So there certainly was. There was an exclusive pin on the 5th, which was a 40th anniversary pin that actually unlocked to show the original Star Wars picture when you opened it up. I think that was limited to 700. I went really, really quickly. On the Sunday, when Hyperspace Mountain officially opened, there was a pin that said you was on the first day of it. For the Hyperspace Mountain previews, you got a pin that said I was on the preview rides. But the greatest thing they had was an original Star Tours poster that was limited to 500.
Whoa.
And contained under those poster was 2 frames of the film that we used in the original Star Tours ride.
Whoa.
How many of these did you get?
The price was just over $200, so I got one.
Wow.
But if I could have bought all 500, I would have.
Wow. Which frames did you get?
I got X-Wing going over the Death Star trench. And also the landing lights at the maintenance hatch as you either left or joined Star Tours. I'm not sure which.
Oh.
Well, there's a collectible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that was the item to get. And there was celebration-sized queues to get into the store when it first opened to get those things.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some things never change.
No, not at all. And again, I've got pictures of that people can see what they look like.
Nice.
Awesome.
Were there any celebrity guests?
No, there wasn't.
Well, there was you.
There was me, clearly. And there was one other person who we'll talk about in a minute because that was the final event in there. But there wasn't any stars of Star Wars there. I think that's something they'll probably be looking at future ones.
Nice.
It was an absolute concept test. So I was lucky enough to go with some people. So I said I spent the weekend with people from France. I was actually hanging out with some of the show organisers. So and they were making it clear that it was a proof of concept night, which they were really happy with. But I suspect they're going to go away and say, how do we turn this into the thing that it can be?
Right.
I think they were a bit nervous about would it work, would it not work, would people like it, etc., etc., etc. But I know they were really happy with how it went.
Oh, that's great
to
hear.
Sounds fantastic. Now, you were holding back on something.
Yeah.
You want to go into that now?
Absolutely. So the star of the show, I think, for most people there was we got two each night DJ sets by DJ Elliot.
Oh, wow. That must have been incredible.
It was, because there's so many people there that don't get to see Elliot because obviously you only get a chance to see him when he's in Europe doing Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
And these were 45-minute sets, so it was an actual dance party rather than startup music. And it was a bit last minute, but one of the things they did was they gave him dancers.
Oh. The DJ Elliot dancers.
Yep, you had about 20 dancers, and please do look at the pictures, and I'll try and post some video.
Okay, if we have to.
Yeah.
Were they Twi'leks?
They were dressed in family friendly, I must stress, Buzz Lightyear clothing.
What?
Wait a minute. Maybe there was a bad connection here. What?
Yeah. So don't forget we've got Toy Story Land at Disneyland Paris Studios.
So they were cross-promoting.
Yeah. And you look at them and you realise it's Buzz Lightyear, but they're it is like nightclub dancers.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a really, when you see them, you'll know what I mean. It's really quite interesting because they're kind of like fully clothed in tight leggings and mini skirts, etc. And they are like podium dancers at a nightclub. But when you look, they're kind of Buzz Lightyear themed.
So the coloring and stuff.
Yeah.
Were they girls and guys or just girls?
Girls and guys, yeah.
Okay.
But it really was quite a sight to see with, like, say, Elliot DJing surrounded by... you'd have about 10 of them on stage and 10 of them out in the crowd.
Uh-huh.
Everyone was dancing along with them in the crowd.
Oh, I'm sure they were.
Yeah, was it a successful, dance party?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that's good, because I know when they've done the dance parties at DCA, it's hit or miss with that. Like, usually if it's just a DJ, it's not as interesting as when they have a live band. So that's good to hear that DJ Elliot was popular.
So we all made, he was really popular, and we all made the observation that pretty much whenever he started, there was just a few people there, because you just finished one show or something, and there's a gap where they set up. And in fact, once they announced, go along and watch the Jedi training. So everyone just went and watched the Jedi training.
And DJ Elliot was kind enough to send us this message to all the Skywalkers.
Hey Skywalkers, it's DJ Elliot here. I'm at Disneyland Paris performing for Star Wars Soiree. Wish you guys could be here joining us. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
He had such a great time, and he really nailed it. Like I say, the observation we made was when he started each set, there was a few people there. We kind of noticed nobody walked past. As soon as they saw him playing, they stopped. And they pretty much all stayed until the end. So for all 4 of his sets, it just got busier and busier and busier. And bear in mind, this goes on till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
On the second day, it was raining as well. And yet, still, at 1 o'clock in the morning on a rainy Saturday night in Paris, everyone was dancing.
Yeah. So you know what was your whole takeaway from these 2 nights? Like, did you, as a park goer, do you think this could be a viable thing?
Yeah, I think, and I'm not saying this with any knowledge whatsoever, but from the feedback I think they got in the night, they realized that this is something they should be doing every year. Mm. And what I hope they're going to do is say, let's make it more Star Wars, bizarrely, because it can be much bigger than what they did. And if they get it right, it will frankly be the event to go for in Europe.
Yeah, they can have celebrity guests. They can have guest podcasters, Skywalking Through Neverland.
Yeah,
they can have a lot of stuff. Hashtag Cantina.
Well, there was talk of all of that. Yeah.
Really? Well, Sarah, pack your bags.
Okay. And then let's take a trip to London, too. Let's do like a second honeymoon thing going on, because we got some stuff to check out in London and some people to say hi to, and oh my gosh.
Only my opinion, but this was also talking to some of the guys who were involved in it. There's no celebration next year, so there's a gap. Europe has a different dynamic to in conventions and the like than America has. So it's a bit of an emerging thing in Europe rather than a well-established thing. They actually had 2 massive theatres that were unused on the night, which were just screaming out, have a celebrity interview.
Oh.
All right, I got to make a whole new to-do list for today. Brush up on my French. All right, good. Now, going back to 1979, where the May the 4th pun started, all the way to 2017. Where does this night fall in for you? In your top 10 list?
Oh, definitely. It's one of the best nights we've had.
Aww.
Oh, nice. Now, if people want to get a hold of you to find out more, or just to say hello, where can they find you on social media?
Okay, so I'm on Facebook. I'm on the Skywalking Through Neverland group. So if anyone wants to ask me on that, link up. You can message me. On Twitter, I am at Keeler 1973.
All right. Well, Martin, thank you very much for joining us. And it sounds like you had a great May the 4th going into Revenge of the 5th.
Absolutely. You have to come over next year.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Bags are already packed.
Right?
Shout-outs. Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
Okay, you guys. The hashtag Make Hoojibs Canon campaign continues. So both Reynold Gobiel and Amanda Bakken tweeted out hashtag Skywalker selfies this week with either Hoojib ears on or at least referencing Hoojibs and tagging Pablo Hidalgo in their tweet. It was great. So now it's your turn, everyone. Stop, put on some bunny ears, take a selfie, and then tweet it out with those hashtags, hashtag Skywalker selfie and hashtag Make Hoojibs Canon. And I also want to give a shout out to Brian Sims, who did this after I wrote these shout outs, but he posted on Twitter, he did some Photoshop work of these awesome Pablo Hidalgo and Matt Martin and Leland Chee as Hoojibs, like Photoshop their face inside Hoojib ears pictures.
As if a Hoojib and Pablo Hidalgo morphed into one to become a super Hoojib.
Yes, it was amazing. So, if you see any of these hashtag Make Hoojibs Canon tweets, just make sure to retweet them or, put on some Hoojib ears yourself and do that and tweet it out. It's awesome.
All right, between the films, the TV shows, the comics, the novels,
the Lego Freemaker Adventures, we've got to make it in there somewhere. And I want a Hoojib itty bitty.
And seeing how Lucasfilm and Disney are becoming integrated with the fans. This I vow you, this will happen. All right, this is going to happen in our lifetime.
Joey Pittman says he's going to buy Oswald ears and paint them white. That's a good idea.
Then you need that little ping pong antenna
ping pong ball. Yeah. Oh, funny. All right, I want to give a big shout out to Ouse Fans Radio Network, which is at Ouse Fans Radio Pod on Twitter. So thank you, Alan, in Australia, because he tweeted, to my two best pals in Star Wars podcasting, Star Wars 40th anniversary is going to be huge out here in Oz, too. Stay cool. So thank you.
Thank you,
that
Alan.
was lovely.
For that. What a great, strong supporter he is.
Yes.
All the way
really
from
awesome.
the land down under.
Yeah, he does his podcast, Ouse Fans Radio. So, AUS Fans Radio.
Which we've been guests on many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just so much fun. I wish he were a little bit closer so we could do more meetups with him.
I wish everyone was closer.
Hashtag move closer, everyone.
Okay. Now, of course, May the 4th was Star Wars Day, and our podcast hosting service, Libsyn, they asked on their social media, in honor of the day, what are your favorite Star Wars podcasts? And you know what? We had several Skywalkers and podcasting friends write back and mention us. So we want to give a big thank you to Paul Berry of Window to the Magic, Chris Shepard of Go Mouse Scouts, and also Patty Hammond. Thank you guys so much for the mention.
Oh, that gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Absolutely.
The warm and hoojibs.
The warm and fuzzy hoojibs.
There you go.
How about that?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And can't thank you enough for mentioning us about being your favorite Star Wars podcast.
We love that.
Love it. Oh, there goes our insufferable egos again.
Oh.
I know.
We were just expressing our happiness.
Yeah, so, you know what? Maybe so.
Okay, is it time?
It is time.
For the Skywalker of the Week.
Ryan Babcock, Ryan Babcock.
Congratulations, Brian! Oh my gosh, you have your very own jingle from Rob Dellinger. And once again, every week, Rob Dellinger composes a jingle for a special Skywalker of the Week. And all you have to do to be entered to get your own jingle is to share the show nicely on social media, maybe respond to people who ask about their favorite podcasts and say, hey, check out Skywalking Pod. It's how we all grow. It's how this show grows. It's how we all grow as a Star Wars family. So we want to thank you guys for doing that, and we want to give back. So we want to thank Rob Dellinger for doing that every week.
Wait a minute. Who's Rob Dellinger? The John Williams of podcasting.
Well, now let's check in with longtime Skywalkers Amanda Bond and Gabriel Colbaugh to see how their May the 4th went.
Hey, Amanda and Gabriel.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, happy belated May the 4th.
Same to you.
Happy Star Wars Day. Woo!
In my opinion, we should just name May Star Wars Month and be done with it.
Right, I think that's what we said last year, I believe. Now, to me, May the 25th was never a big Star Wars day because I wasn't alive in 77.
May the 4th is when all the best deals are going on with retailers.
Yeah, I think May the 4th has won simply because it's a quick internet joke and it's easy to remember. Yeah. But I am perfectly willing that if we want to celebrate Star Wars Day twice in a month, I am there. I will make necessary sacrifices to do so.
Well, you're speaking my language now. Now, tell us all about your May the 4th holiday. Sounds like you two were really active.
So, as, of course, many of the longtime Skywalkers know, but for those joining in, we are a member of Saber Guild, which is a Lucasfilm and Disney-recognized costume club that does stage choreography. So we put on lightsaber shows for various community events. It's all for charity. We don't make money off of it. We have been going to this event on May the 4th for the last 2 years now.
2 years.
And the event was May the 4th. They call it May the Science Be With You. That's right. They call it May the Science Be With You. And they use Star Wars to promote the Desert Research Institute here in Las Vegas. The Desert Research Institute is a nonprofit science organization that does climate research and water conservation research and alternative energy research.
It's also tied into the National Atomic Testing Museum that we have here, since people used to come to Vegas specifically to watch atomic tests happen several hundred miles away.
Wow.
And they're using Star Wars to pull the audiences in?
Basically, Craig Rosen of the Desert Research Institute, he realized that in order to get people into their open, because they would have an open lab day where kids could do hand-on science activities, where they would give tours of the labs, where scientists would speak. He realized that it's so much easier to get people in the door if you tie it in to something that they're familiar with. Like maybe the idea of doing, water conservation, maybe that's not very exciting, but when you tie it into, say, moisture farming in the Star Wars universe, or you tie in desert conservation on the desert of Tatooine, you can bring people in, celebrate May the 4th, it becomes more of a party, and you can use pop culture to bridge that gap between perhaps science and science fiction.
Wow, and now you guys can even use the desert of Jakku.
I know, right?
Yeah, honestly, all I heard about that last part was Star Wars and moisture farming.
So honestly, the way I always look at it is this. Like, if you get people in the door, however you can get them in the door, your event will be a success. And so I think Star Wars was really used by the Desert Research Institute just to draw excitement, bring people to a venue they might otherwise never have heard about, and then promote their science activities.
Now, what was your part in all this?
Well, for poor Amanda, it was planning half the event.
Wow.
She kind of overcommitted herself a little bit, but it was quite successful, and she got to spend a few meetings during normal business hours and have fun with that.
It's what I do for a living, so it's like I plan events in my free time and for work. I don't know. I obviously like what I do. So our part started quite a few months in advance where we were part of the planning. I was part of the planning committee. Then right before the event, in order to do promotion for it, there were quite a few media spots, which, as both of you know, of course, having done TV, morning stations tend to start super early in the morning. So our day started at
4:30.
Yeah, we started at 4:30, getting ready to go down for a morning news program at, I think we had 6 we went on.
6:30 was the first one.
Yeah.
And then 9 o'clock was the second one.
Wow.
And then at the event itself, they had a third news station there. So we hit 3 of the 4 major news stations here in town.
My goodness. How close is this to Las Vegas? Is it like in the town proper?
Oh, right in the heart of the city, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we were right. In fact, if any of your listeners are ever come to Las Vegas, I really do recommend the Atomic Testing Museum, because it's a fun kind of slice of history of Vegas that most people don't get. And it's right off what is affectionately known as the Strip, which is the main, Las Vegas Boulevard is the main street or the Strip where all the casinos are on.
Wow. See, I only know about the atomic testing and viewing it from Las Vegas from Timeless.
I only know because of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh, that too.
So to go there, does everyone get to go into a refrigerator and be vaulted into the sky for a couple of
Sadly,
bucks?
they don't have any refrigerators at the museum.
No, that would be a fun interactive thing, though, I think.
Oh, that's not very accurate then. Nice. All right, so now when you're actually on TV, what are you doing then?
I'd love to say that there was a plan going into this, but it's mostly, we thought we were going to be set dressing pretty much for the news crew. But because we're part of Saber Guild, we have a unique opportunity to do choreography, which gives like the TV camera something moving, something flashy to do. Sadly, people should not ask me to do anything involving movement before 9 a.m. Because I totally missed our cue that we were supposed to start fighting, and I'm just standing there like a Jedi with deer in the headlights wanting more coffee.
Although the fun one was when they were doing the weather update, they had Amanda and I run on to the camera, act like we were deflecting blaster bolts, and then the stormtrooper we had came rushing on afterwards and took some shots at us.
Yeah, super. Huge thanks to Carrie of the 5. Perry, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, like the platypus.
Perry, the platypus. Yeah, we were on TV with Perry the platypus. No. Perry from the 501st Neon Garrison here in town, who we kind of came up with that during a commercial break. So that was a lot of fun.
So while the on-air hosts are trying to do their thing, report the news, you guys are in back just whack each other with lightsabers.
And being chased by stormtroopers. Pretty much.
Wait a minute, a Jedi being chased by a stormtrooper?
Yeah, you know, Rebels era.
Okay.
We play a little loose and fast with canon when it comes to being on. And I think this year was over 2,500 people came through.
Wow.
And they did all sorts of different scientific activities, toured the labs, learned, there was a Star Wars origami room set up. For our part, we did youngling training, which we do a show where basically all the little kids and those who are kids at heart. So, Richard, if you're ever in the area and you want to be a Jedi, just hop right in there to the youngling training, okay?
Yay!
Forget you, Disneyland, and your Jedi training academy. I know where I can go and be a Jedi.
Do you guys have T-shirts?
Do you guys have Star Tours? Can I be a Rebel Spy?
Well, as soon as we get Star Tours, we'll make you the Rebel Spy.
Yeah, you will be our first Rebel Spy if we get.
Finally! You don't know how much torture I've been through in this whole episode.
I'm pulling for you, Richard. One of these days it's going to happen.
You and me, though, Richard, because I'm telling you, Gabe, you've been the Rebel Spy, 3 times?
No, just once.
No, it's been at least twice. You've been the Rebel Spy.
I only remember one. But
it was at least twice. And I'm just like, I want to be the Rebel Spy.
I've been the Rebel Spy 7 times.
Yeah. And twice on one day. Yeah, we get it, okay?
Yep.
You're better than I am, okay? I get it.
One time I was dressed as Jedi Tink, so that was kind of a given.
To be fair, about 2 years ago when they had that dress up in Disney 24-hour Memorial Day event, I think in 15, I went dressed as a Jedi, and I went on Star Tours, and I didn't get the Rebel Spy, so that didn't help me at all.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't help me at all either. All right, so now, after the event, didn't you two fly somewhere else to do some more Star Wars fun?
Oh, I wish. No, Gabe took me to the airport where I flew on a red-eye to Baltimore, where I went to do my real day job, which is set up a booth and do an event, only not less lightsabers and more blazers and wearing heels and that sort of type of event. So,
boy, you guys really are playing loose and fast with the continuity.
Now, Amanda hasn't brought up the other thing she did at the event, which was interview Colin Cantwell, who was the original designer of the Death Star, along with help design the Millennium Falcon, X-Wings, Y-Wings, things like that.
he did a lot of the modeling early on. And he's a brilliant mind. He's like so many of our Star Wars people. Unfortunately, they're all getting older. So it's so important to hear their stories and get to speak with them. And he was very gracious to all our guests, signing, he sold prints and signed books. I helped arrange for him to come out to the event because I felt like his viewpoint of science and art and how he blended the two was a really good kind of bridge between the science and the art of Star Wars.
That's awesome.
Boy, he's really Star Wars royalty.
Yeah. And where can this interview be found?
I don't think they have posted it yet online. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be one of those things that that we're going to have. You would have had to been there. But if you go to ColinCantwell.com, he does have answers to a lot of the questions he gets asked, photos and videos from recent events. So hopefully we'll get out there.
How old of a gentleman is he these days?
I was nervous about helping him up onto the stage. I'll put it that way. He's in good health for his age, but he's pretty frail. So I'm just saying, if you're at an event where he's at, they usually have him in Artist Alley. Please stop in. Just even tell him thank you for his work on it, because it does mean a lot to him.
Wow. And I bet his mind was still sharp as a tack.
It's funny because he's such a technical genius that he's actually kind of shy. Oh. But once you get him comfortable in talking, he can just tell you all these stories of, and then George Lucas he's calling up George Lucas for the Death Star. The parts that they had ordered didn't fit together. So I'll try to give this story justice. So one of the stories he tells is when they ordered the parts for the Death Star, the sphere came in two halves. And when they went to put the two halves together, lo and behold, they did not fit. It left this really wide kind of gap around the center. So he calls up George Lucas and says, we have a problem. The Death Star doesn't fit together. He's like, what if there's this trench that we could put around this? And he said, what if they had to go in there and they could fly through it? We could make it really detailed with weapons. And evidently George Lucas says, I'll call you back. And after sweating it out for an hour or so, he gets a call back from George Lucas. He said, that sounds like a really good idea. Let's use it. So per Colin Cantwell, the trench scene and that whole flying in and out of it was really a happy accident of the Death Star model not fitting together correctly.
Wow.
I have never heard that story before.
Wow.
I know.
My goodness.
Yeah.
He had a whole bunch of the stories like this. So I thought it was really a great guest to have. And I think everyone who was there really understood that we're talking to a guy that's probably he might be in his 80s. He's at least in his 70s.
Right.
Yeah, I recall seeing pictures of him in the Star Wars albums, and he looked like he was a little bit older than the rest of the ILM crew, who were all in their 20s. And that was just one of those names you don't forget. Colin Cantwell. Sounds like a superhero.
Yeah, it does.
And I recall seeing pictures of him putting together the Space 1999 Millennium Falcon. Going, Colin, you're on the wrong show. That's awesome. Did you ask him any other questions that had a surprising outcome?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of some of his good ones. He talked about how George Lucas, because I said, well, how did you find George Lucas? He goes, oh, George Lucas called me. And I said, oh, how many people can say that George Lucas called me? it turns out George Lucas had seen his model work and was looking for a modeler that could do highly detailed ship models. And what Colin said set him apart from a lot of his competition is that the closer you looked, the more details you got. And so the closer you went on a ship, there was more of those bits and pieces, and I guess what George would later call greeblies. Yeah. And so that's how he got the job. He also talked a little bit about working for NASA, doing illustrations for NASA, and then also he was with Walter Cronkite on the moon when the coverage of the moon landing happened. Colin was in his ear, basically telling him, interpreting what was on the NASA radio so that Walter Cronkite could give a proper report of it.
Wow.
So Walter Cronkite didn't know all that stuff on his own? My image in history is blown. Oh, the power of the media. Boy, when we first called you, we didn't know about this. That's
I know.
Awesome. I don't mean about Walter Cronkite. I mean about Colin Cantwell. That's fantastic. Wow, what a May the 4th you two really had.
I've not recovered from it, to be quite honest. Well, I think I'm still on Revenge of the 5th even. But it was a real great event. It's a great event for our community to have a big science and Star Wars event, and I like the people at the Desert Research Institute, and I always love training the kids, though. They are so wacky and crazy. I love them.
Does this museum have these kind of events very often, or just every May the 4th?
You know what? I know they have a rotating exhibit, which is usually more pop culture oriented. For example, right now it's how Vegas.
It's Area 51.
Oh, it's Area 51. That's right. And then we only come in on May the 4th, of course, because of the obvious Star Wars tie-in. And it's part of our community service to give back to Las Vegas, to come in and help make it a big event.
And what is the name of this museum again?
It's the Atomic Testing Museum and the Desert Research Institute.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on to Skywalking and sharing your May the 4th.
Well, thank you for having us back. We always enjoy it.
Did you recover on Revenge of the 5th?
I waited. Sorry, excuse me.
That should answer your question.
I always prefer Revenge of the 6th myself, but obviously it's still taking its toll.
Now, before we wrap up episode 168, let's tell everyone where our next meetups are going to be.
Yeah, because we've added some in, so we want to meet up with our family of Skywalkers whenever we can. So, here we go. New meetup, September 1st, 2017, on Friday, John Williams is at the Hollywood Bowl. He's also there on Saturday and Sunday, but we will be attending on that Friday, September 1st, and we'd love to meet up with Skywalkers before the concert. So we have actually reserved Picnic Area 14, which is the Highland Camrose picnic area. It's not within the gates of the Hollywood Bowl yet, but it's on the same side of the street as the Hollywood Bowl, which is really nice, and it's pretty easy. It's just a short walk to the entrance. And so there, that picnic area is reserved from 4 p.m., but we're probably not going to be there that early. I'm thinking 5:30 to 7 p.m. Is when we will be there, and you guys can meet up with us. The concert starts at 8 p.m. So if you happen to be attending the bowl that night, whether it's with a group or not, or, by yourselves, whatever, just please join us for a picnic beforehand. Bring your own dinner there and chill out with some like-minded Skywalkers.
And if you are by yourself, you won't be by yourself for very much longer. You'll have a family of Skywalkers there. And as a group, what we're going to do, we're going to be very, very loud so John Williams can turn around and go...
And we can all be conducted by John Williams.
Nice. And then just a few weeks later, Skywalking through Neverland is hitting the high seas.
That's right. September 17th through 22nd, we are going on a 5-night Skywalking Disney cruise to Baja, Mexico on the Disney Wonder. So that is Halloween on the High Seas. We are so excited. That's going to be a Halloween-themed cruise. And to get more info on that, there's only a few slots left now at this point. We're going to start our major planning into high gear. Just email our friend, podcaster, and cruise buddy, Randy Crane, at cruise@storiesofthemagic.com. And there you can get more information. Tell him you want to be with the Skywalking Through Neverland group. All right?
And come with your trick-or-treating bags.
We're just and costumes.
We're going to go all out Halloween style, Halloween skywalking style. And you guys know we do Halloween.
Yes, indeed. All right. Also, this year, 2017, the week between Christmas and New Year's, we will be in Boston, visiting relatives, visiting your sister.
Yeah, or more to the point, in Newton, Massachusetts.
Yay!
So we're going to get together with all of our East Coast Skywalkers, and we're going to go see The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with Amanda Bakken.
Okay.
And the best place to see it would be Jordan's Furniture. Wait a minute. Jordan's Furniture?
What?
Yeah. They have this great theater. It's in Natick, Mass.
Okay.
And they've got a phenomenal 4D theater.
Whoa.
I saw Attack of the Clones there back in 2002. The best experience I've ever had at a theater. Aside from that theater, we saw Rogue One.
Uh-huh.
Where the cheers catapulted you into the screen.
Yeah.
It was just like that.
Okay.
It's just so amazing. So I wanted to see it at the Charles Theater in Boston, but that theater is no longer there. That was my Star Wars theater when I was a kid. But now we've got a Skywalker theater. And that is Jordan's Furniture.
How exciting.
Yes, a couple of other Skywalkers joined in the conversation and said, yeah, that's the way to go. So we don't have a date just yet, but we're thinking maybe the 27th or 28th of December.
Okay. Yeah, we're not sure, just that week in between, and we'll figure it out, but definitely between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, and the best part about seeing it at Jordan's Furniture, there's an intro by the two guys who own Jordan's Furniture, and they've got these thick Boston accents. So when they introduced Attack of the Clones, they said, now sit back and enjoy Star Wars Attack of the Clones. I laughed so hard until I stopped, which was about 30 minutes. Embarrassed everybody because I just would not stop laughing at that.
Yes. Wow.
Star Wars.
Now, Joey Pittman is bringing up D23 meetup.
Oh.
And yes, that is a great idea, Joey.
So D23 Expo is July 14th through the 16th. So at some point in there, we will have a Skywalker meetup and talk all about the big announcements.
Yay.
This is where you go to hear the announcements.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And they're billing this as like Marvel, Pixar, Disney, and Star Wars. So you know there's going to be some stuff going on. We're so excited.
Lots of stuff. All right, with that, let's now officially wrap up 168 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to give a huge thank you to Martin Keeler, Amanda Bond, Tricia Barr, Adam Bray, Bryn McKinnon,
and all the Skywalkers who sent in their Star Tours support group audio clips.
And those who bragged about it.
And we'd like to thank all of you for tuning in every week.
All right, now let's tell everyone where they can find us on social media.
That's right.
That's your department.
Okay, we are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. We are also on YouTube. Just search Skywalking Through Neverland. We post a lot of videos there, including a lot of the press conference stuff that we do. All around LA. Also, we have all of the Rebels press conferences from like season 2 on. So it's kind of fun to go back and like listen to what they say back in the day and then up to now. And what stuff that, like Dave Filoni was teasing different things and now we know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fun to listen to those again.
All right, then head over to iTunes where you can give us a 1-star review, a 2-star review, 3, 4, 5, however many stars you want. Just be honest with your review.
Mm-hmm. And you can join our Facebook group where you can really become a part of the family of Skywalkers and make some great friends there. All you have to do for that, it's a closed group, so make sure when you're on Facebook, search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook group, request to join, and then find us somewhere else on social media and make sure to say, hey, my name is blah, 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 I requested to join the group. And then we will let you in. You have to do that 2-step process. We get, 5 or 6 requests a day, and not all the people follow the rules, so we don't let them in.
Right. All right, with that, let's go ahead and roll the end credits, and then we can listen to all the fun bloopers throughout the show.
All right. Well, everyone, have an awesome week, and always remember
to never open your toys.
Except for Ahsoka Itty Bitties.
And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
I just did. Yay! Yay!
Oh, maybe a special John Williams shirt.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know.
No, she's got to work on her Halloween shirt.
Yeah.
From 2013.
Itty bitties, yay. Okay.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they did that. Being over there in their native country, they should speak French.
Yeah.
And for the Americans, we just got to get over it that they're not speaking English. I'm sure Darth Vader in the film is bilingual. He just never had a chance to use that talent. Absolutely.
He can do plenty of things. It's like, why wouldn't he speak French? But
exactly.
Well, he can speak Sebulba's language.
Yeah, he can speak Doug.
Yeah. So why couldn't he speak French?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. I just retconned this.
Okay, you guys. The hashtag make Hoojibs canon come bleh. Let me try that again.
Okay.
I just got back from Baltimore for my day job. So
wow.
I'm like, it was hard not to be in Star Wars mode while I was at my day job. So, I'm like, oh, you don't wish random people may the Force be with you. Oh, sorry. My bad.
There's nothing wrong with hitting a random stranger with a lightsaber. If you take away anything from this, you use that.
Yes.